you mind if I run out?
Don't run though. Don't run.
Oh, I forgot my mask. You didn't remind me. Oh, I'm sorry.
Easy to forget. We
Yeah.
don't
The
see
thing
each
about
other.
Because it's a
masks is
wish.
that it's good that we're wearing them, and if you don't have it, it's not like the end of the
No,
world.
no, no, I do have it. Just wait a minute.
It feels like a wire.
I'm just all crazy now because
Morning, how are you?
is this the right one? Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's do a sound check.
Wonderful.
Good. I'll be back. I'll be here in just a minute. Anyway, welcome everyone.
Welcome.
This is our adult formation, and we are so fortunate and blessed to have Diane Vince with us. So Diane, what we have done in this first few minutes is do introductions.
Okay.
So if people would just go around and say who they are, and maybe we'll start with, why don't we start with Lois?
Sure.
And then go down, and then we'll go to Zoom too.
Okay, I'm Lois Sheridan, and I've been here about 5 years, and I'm in the book club and Sacred Ground, and
I'm Dick Band.
okay.
I'm Tom Agler. Nice to see everyone. David Fletcher, hi.
Maddie Peterson. Good morning.
Naomi for John.
And I'm in the Hetherington.
And I'm Joyce Fletcher.
Why would
And
you
I'm
hear
sure
when
my
your
wife-
plate was
she
full?
belongs to
Yeah.
him.
And Sue.
Okay,
Who are the Zoomies?
Did we introduce the Zoom people?
Oh, yeah.
We did not. I'm going to go through and highlight people. Bob it in.
Arizona.
And Bob Cardwell from Tucson, Arizona.
And Kim.
Good morning, Kim Reed. Nice to see everyone.
And Doug.
Hi, Doug Bradbury here, just listening in while getting the kids ready this morning.
Ah, good man. And Lindsay was actually so still for a bit that I thought she was a picture.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Paris Lopez.
And me. And the cat says hello. And that's all of us.
Except now we have one more.
Oh, yay. Yay, it's Judy.
So, and we have Judy and Cecilia is joining us. So this is our series, This Is Us, where we're learning about different people in our parish. And we're so excited that Diane Dins is here. Diane has been at St. Mark's forever. Am I wrong?
No,
those
I
dates?
may enlighten you with that in a minute.
Okay.
It's kind of scary when you think about it.
And I think all of us who know Diane at all just love Diane. She's wonderful. And so we're so happy that she would join us today.
Thank you for that. Okay, you ready? Do I just talk now?
Just
Because-
talk all you want.
Okay, because I have been here since.
If you want to take your mask off, you can,
Okay.
and people can hear you better.
Okay,
Yeah, it's good
Anyway,
for young people.
I've been here since 1959, older than any of you people, except maybe Sue, because she's at my age. Anyway, and in 1959, we moved here, and of course, I got to see St. Mark's right away. And then the next year, we had our son Eric, and that was a good thing. And then the next year, we had our daughter Rebecca, and Rachel was born in 1965. And then in 1970, we had Kurt, and he's still hanging around. And anyway, in 1965, I'd like to think that maybe because Rachel was born retarded, that perhaps there had been something that could have made it better now, that maybe she wouldn't have been quite so totally retarded. Maybe that would have been, the modern science is so wonderful. But anyway, so at the time, when she was born face up, and that's not a good thing because then she aspirated her amniotic fluid, which made her unable to breathe. So she was without oxygen at birth, which is not a good thing either. And so she was in an incubator and she was there for 10 days. And so I'm, waiting like mothers do in the room. Where's my baby? Well, they didn't bring me my baby. And so here comes the doctor. And he said, "You want a priest?" And I thought, no, tell me what's happening. Well, anyway, I don't know if the man was Episcopalian or not, but I surely hope he wasn't, because anyway, then the next person came in was our pediatrician, who we had, Dr. Burkle, we had for years with him, and he was a great pediatrician. And he said, well, she's retarded, but we're going to see what we can do for her, and you can call me anytime you want. He gave me his home phone, which another thing I have to say is that all the years that she lived, there were always kind doctors. Except for that first guy, really, they were just so helpful and considerate. I was really pleased with that. So anyway, Dr. Virgo said, I think you could take her to Children's Memorial Hospital, which was the place to go in those days, and have her tested. So, and see, what you can expect. So we did. And right before that, of course, when you go to get Rachel been in the incubator for 10 days. So then when she came out and you get your baby dressed like you do. Well, I'm dressing her and there's a nurse, and the nurse said, "Do you have any other children?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "That's good." There was another thing that I realized was how people viewed this kind of thing. So then we went to Children's Memorial Hospital, and the head neurologist said, "I can't do a thing for you." He said, "Take her home and love her." But what he also told us that I didn't want to accept was that she's blind. And I thought, I know she's not blind. She looks at me when I talk to her. She heard me. Obviously, that was the story. So anyway, we brought her home, and we treated her like she's our child. We're here. She come to our house. We'll just do the best we can for whatever we needed to find would work for her. And we had a high chair that kind of supported her because she couldn't support herself. And then we went to Easter Seals, and I still give money to them. They had a place like this that held her. It worked perfectly for her. And we took her all around with that. That was a conveyance that we could use. And I took her to church frequently because it was easy to get her around, and she was fine. She was fine in any kind of thing like that. She was, I remember many times ECW meetings, she'd be there on the floor. We had a big pad for her, and she'd be out there with people. And unlike my mother-in-law, who said, "Well, you're going to lose a lot of friends," I never lost any friends. I gained friends. I didn't gain friends, but my friends were there. I cannot tell you how many people babysat for Rachel, including Sue Monander. And I kind of took care of kids too, but she was on Sue's floor quite a bit. And so that made it easy. We had some great caregivers. And anyway, there she was in most of the time, if she wasn't in her little chair, she was on the floor on a big pad, and our big dog laid next to her. And our big dog would let her pull his hair out. He didn't care. He was really good. And my kids' friends would come in and they'd say, "Oh, what's wrong with her?" And I would tell them, "Well, she was born retarded, and so she won't be quite as you guys are." And they said, "Oh, okay." Kids accepted that so readily. It even got to be maybe in the later years, they come by and say, "Hi, Rachel." If she were there, so that wasn't a big deal. The big deal was adults. They would come in and say, "Oh my God." And then, it's like people didn't know what to say or how to act. And I realized that especially when some really good friends of ours had moved away and came back. And it was maybe Rachel by that time was 3, 4. They said, "We just didn't know what to say, Diane." And I thought, well, that's too bad. They didn't. That was not a thing that you like to accept, but I just thought, well, that we still treated her as if she were part of our family and didn't think of anything about it. But we had some really nice I want to say caregivers now, but they were babysitters. And they all were just could not have been nicer, liked her, cared about her. One of them lived behind us, and her name was Heidi Howe. She's now Heidi Bridenstine, and she would come around and babysit, and she loved Rachel. She loved Rachel. So she did it for quite a while. And she, she was the daughter of Bob Judd. So when at Bob's service recently, I was there, and here Heidi was there, and this girl walked by and she said, "Hi, Mrs. Dins, I'm Rachel." Whoa, was that an emotional? Good grief! I mean, she named her child Rachel after my daughter. Really, that was just the utmost. That it just was. It was wonderful. I just thrilled beyond words for that. And at some point we had the first place she went for like a school was I want to say it was a Reed Graham. I think that was that was a long time ago. But anyway, they started the school for formerly retired kids who never had schooling of any kind. So she was there, and we drove there. I drove over there every day, and it was an interesting. They tried everything, they just didn't know what to do with the kids that didn't know how to respond or whatever. And some, I don't know if any others were blind, but anyway, that was a good place. And the next place was, and I think maybe that was Ray Graham too, but it was a little more organized, and they had therapists, and they had a wonderful therapist. Really, they did a really good program. And for a while, I would drive her there. It was in Wheaton. And then after a while, they provided buses. We had a bus. She got in a bus in the morning and came home in the afternoon. That was like, she had her schooling. And the teachers I said, like, she was so easy to take care of. I should pass this around. This is what a happy baby looked like. This was okay. So, I took this stuff off my wall, so don't worry about it. But anyway, there's one teacher that he especially liked her a lot, was getting married. And he said, "We're going to have Rachel at our wedding," because one of the few little things that Rachel responses she made was something she liked, and I think it was because it sounded cute. She said "diddle-dee, diddle-dee, diddle-dee," and even saying it now makes me, oh my gosh, it was so common that he said, and then she can come say "diddle-dee" at our wedding, and then it'll be terrific. Well, however, they were married out of state, so they couldn't do that. But anyway, she had responses, and she did respond when we talked to her. She looked at us. Anyway, another thing that if she ever, and seldom was unhappy or appeared to be crying, or she didn't cry very much, but for some reason, we got the record of the Ramsey Lewis's In Crowd. Well, if she ever made out a peep, the kids would say, "Get the in crowd, get the in crowd." We put that on all the time. And it did. It really just made her happy. So that was another thing. She liked the in crowd. I was always going to write to him and tell him how much this meant to her, and I don't think I ever did. But anyway, I meant to do that. And another thing that
in crowd? What is that?
In with the in crowd.
Anyway, don't make me sing it because I don't sing.
I think we should all sing it together. Because we are.
Yeah. See, well, that was maybe all something we older people would recognize.
Oh,
But
I
I took that with her wherever she was. I took the in crowd. She had that. Another thing that I maybe should mention is that Fred and I were only children. And so all we had was our mothers and 2 teenagers. And at some point, as I said, my mother-in-law initially thought we'd lose our friends. And then she babysat regularly as often as she could. And she just felt that if she gave Rachel some really good food, she'd get better. Well, I think she finally realized she wouldn't, but that was okay because she was a good caregiver and she loved her. And my mother, who lived in Waukegan, made all Rachel's clothes.
Wow.
Do you remember double knits when those things came out?
Mhm.
Well, she made outfits for Rachel, all of her clothes until my mother died. She made all of her clothes. And then I thought, oh my goodness, now what do I do for clothes? But anyway, that was her gift. That was her gift. So that, see, we had no problems anywhere. And I never ever felt, I said this to Edna earlier, I never felt sad. I never felt sad with Rachel. Once she was a part of our family, I just never was saddened by her. I just said, well, that's Rachel, that's just our child. And after the second school that she went to with this nice teacher, she got to be maybe about 12. And I thought, and we both thought, Fred and I both thought, what are we going to do when we die? So we thought we better find some way to find a place that she will be safe. And anyway, who knows? There's, state schools, all that kind of stuff. They didn't think about that. So, but I had grown up next door to a family, and I was in their wedding when I was a kid, and their daughter turned out to be a special ed teacher, and she ended up as director of the school in Lake Forest. She was the director of Grove School in Lake Forest, and she said, Diane, Rachel's got to come here. So we took her to Lake Forest. Well, the bad part about that was, it was like we gave her away. It's like she died. It was, to have her so far away, it was really wrenching. I think by that time, Kurt was then maybe 5, and he said, we've got to bring her toys and stuff. She's got to know where that she's okay. And anyway, again, that was a good place. And I went there all the time. I went there at least once a week. And Fred would go whenever he could, because he, Browns and stuff. So anyway, it was, I think maybe was there 10 years. I'm not exact. I didn't keep track of all this stuff, but I think she was there about 10 years. And it was a really a healthy place for everybody. And because we did have her home for every holiday, we had her home as often as we could for, that kind of thing. So we realized that she really hadn't died. She was still part of our family. So that worked okay. But at some point I said to the therapist at Grove School, who was the physical therapist, I thought, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could go to school and learn how to be a physical therapist, and I could be where she is. Well, I said to the physical therapist, I'd like to do that. She said, it took me 8 years and I'm still paying the car. I'm still paying the living. Well, I thought, oh, I guess I better give that up, because by that point I was like pushing 40, and I thought, oh, well, I don't take too long. So anyway, I ended up going to one, good old COD. And I took a test to see if I could be a nurse or whatever. And well, it's okay. They said I could. So I signed up for the nursing program. And so I was working pretty soon. I had college, so I had a lot of that helped me get through my nursing program. And so I would go after, I was working, I would go after, well, wait a minute, I haven't gotten to the wrong place yet. Okay, I guess she's still in Grove School. And so that's when I started going to nursing school. And when I was on my nursing program, one clinical was at the DuPage County Convalescent. And they're, for older people. Well, there were young people there. And I thought, there are young people here. This is really nice. Maybe I could get Rachel here. And so we signed her up for there, and she had to wait a while because it was not an emergency. It wasn't as if she were ill, but we did get her on there finally. And that was, that was 15 minutes from our home. It was so much easier than going to Lake Forest. It just really was. And I was thrilled with that. And it really, again, places like that, home nursing homes or any kind of place like that where there's your loved one is, if you come often or act interested, they really bend over backwards to take care of your loved one. They really do. And Rachel was as not any problem. She was, easy to care for. And she had a number of good CNAs that really cared for her and worked with her too. And so that was a happy time. That was okay time because she was so close. And okay, what's the next one I was going to give you? Oh. Anyway, so I would come to the nursing home after working. I mean, I could come and then feed her, bathe her, and put her to bed. And Fred would come occasionally if he were, until he retired, when he could come and give her lunch and be with her at lunch. And anyway, I guess I can show you this one. This is Fred feeding Rachel. Now, I took this stuff off my walls, so just be patient. Be patient. But anyway, he was good. He was good about that. And one other good thing, I guess maybe it was when we were at one of those other schools before she got to the nursing home. There was a mothers club. And I was a president of the mothers club. So I was having a meeting or something. And Fred said, I'll call all the fathers. Well, he was so, I don't know, furious or crushed or whatever. So many fathers had left the family. Well, because they can't be having a child. I don't have a retarded child, and they wouldn't accept the child, and they left the family. And I met my friend Kay, who is still my friend. Her son was at the nursing home too, so we became good friends, and we were in another group together, and we had all the kids in this group at this mothers club had their picture taken. Well, only we could do this. But we all looked at the picture and said, oh my gosh, they look so retarded. Well, we could say that because those were our children. I mean, it was kind of, kind of mean sounding, but that was fine. And really, those were the kind of things that made it easier to accept this. And I don't think there was any time when I felt we were accepting it. But anyway, as Rachel been there for quite a while, and I think she might have been there. Oh gosh, I can't even go over that anymore. But anyway, at church she was baptized, of course, by Father Whistler, and then there was nothing from the church. And not that I expected anybody to dash over and do something with Rachel, but they didn't. No one did. And except one fellow who has since gone to All Souls, and he always swore he'd come with me to Rachel's. And I said, it's fine. I mean, I didn't care I was going anyway. And he said, I'll be there. I'll be there with you. Never once showed and asked and told me often he would come. And I didn't expect any more than that. That was fine. However, then we get this nice fellow. And this nice fellow said, well, we should go visit Rachel. I said, what? I mean, I could not have been more surprised. And so really, Rachel and I used to go around, I don't know, roll wheelchair, take her all places. And we had many friends that we would see because, she's kind of young, so she was more appealing than maybe an old lady. And we had a lot of friends we go see. So you would come too. Well, they'll tell you, those old ladies loved him. Oh, there's the priest. They were so excited. See, he made everybody happy besides me. I mean, that was so thrilling. It really was. And then toward the end, when she was, I can't describe this anymore physical, but as maybe you can see in this picture, that she was kind of listing to the left. That was her weaker point. And she was pushing on her lungs. So she would have problems breathing. And they would call us into the nursing home and we go over there. And many times it was in the middle of the night and we just sit with her and it was okay. I mean, she got okay. But at some point, we realized she couldn't lay on her stomach anymore. And of course, that's what you always did with your babies, even if she was old, she still laid on her stomach. She couldn't do that. So she slept on her back then, and she was okay with that. One point, they did take her to the hospital when she was having trouble breathing. And the doctor there in the emergency room said, well, we want to put an endotracheal tube in her. And I said, no, they're not going to do that. At that point, I think we had her on a do not resuscitate. And he said, I understand. So she was in ICU for a while. And the next day, when I was in their ICU with her, here comes this doctor from the emergency room to see how she is. I thought, whoa, what doctor would do that? I just thought that was the kindest doctor. As I say, I have nothing but kind doctors that dealt with Rachel, really. And that was, so anyway, we took her back to the nursing home, and she was still fine, but then she had moments like this. And as she was getting older, and this was happening more often, well, at one point we had, we weren't sure how well she really was. And so George came, and our family was there, and he gave her, I guess, not last rites, whatever, you gave her a blessing for our whole family was there. And then at some point we were, Rachel was really not doing well. And so that was the point, which was not a highlight in my life, when my daughter Becky, our daughter Becky, was diagnosed with cancer, with breast cancer. And she was in the hospital having a mastectomy. And so we were there in the hospital with Becky when they called the nursing home and said Rachel is really not doing well. So Fred went to the nursing home, and I stayed with Becky, and then we switched. And when I had gotten Rachel into bed and comfortable, I came back to see Becky. And so she said, how is she? And I said, well, she's dying. And so we both cried. That was a tender moment, because we just cried together. There wasn't anything, this was it. And she died about a week later. And, you know, as I said, I used to go, Fred would go every day for lunch, and I would go in the evening. Well, that night, for some reason, I said, I'm tired tonight. I'll go again tomorrow. I mean, I'm not going to go tonight. That's the night she died, of course. That would be that was tricky of her. So anyway, she's, and they say people that happens, but anyway, okay, but then we didn't have the service until Becky could come, and Becky was well enough to come. So then we had a really nice service, and there's a nice columbarium out there with on a plaque that has her name on it. It also has Becky's name, and it has my husband's name too. So, and my name is out there too, but I'm still here. You know, heaven knows. But anyway, so that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I don't know that. I guess what I wanted to say was, really, I feel badly for people that can't accept this child because he's not perfect, or because it's not what you expected. Well, okay, then you do what you can. It's your child, and you love her, and you just do the best you can. I can't imagine not acknowledging that child. And yet I know people would be overwhelmed with it, you know, oh my God, this is terrible. But, you know, I never, ever, ever felt sad anywhere she was. I'd go in and I'd say, hi, Rachel, and she'd be happy to see me or hear me. I keep thinking that. So I never had any problems with that. And Fred never did either. If you could have only seen how wonderful he was with her. And he may have been a curmudgeon, as my friend said, but he was sure good with Rachel. So anyway, after her service, we get nice memorials. So Fred says to George, or I guess he probably called you to say, okay, George, we're going to talk about this. What should we do with this money? What do you need? He said. So they ended up getting a candle stand, where you light a candle and say a prayer. And that's in there, and it's got Rachel's name on it. So that, but anyway, the day, look, to find this place, Fred got in the van, I got in the van, and George got in the van, and we drove to this place that makes these things. So we could pick the right one. Really, and I believe this to my dying day, that George got Fred to heaven. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind about George, because he loved George. He loved George. He thought George was and even though he never came to church, and he never prevented the kids from going or anything, he just didn't go himself. So anyway, he got to heaven because of George. So, and I trust that we all are getting to heaven because of George, or at least everybody here. I think we're all in good shape. But okay, what else do I need to tell you? Anything? I could tell you. I got some more pictures, so you can see what. I took those off my wall. Anyway, so that's I think at her service, I remember Eric talked, my older one, and he said. We used to have a birthday party for Rachel, and we had to whisper because saying happy birthday made her cry for some reason. I don't know. So he said we had to whisper happy birthday to you because that, that was probably when we got the music that she liked. But anyway, so anybody, you think? I know he said we think we did the wrong thing, but anybody know anybody that did have a retired child that didn't want to have them around? That was what Fred used to say. These people don't want to acknowledge the child's presence in their life. And I thought, it doesn't seem possible, but obviously it is.
I guess I'd want to think that today it's a better environment.
I think so.
Do you think it is, or
I'd like to think people wouldn't be that way so much anymore, but it just depends. I guess it still is a personal thing, but I think people are so, their children, especially now, it seems, I don't know why, people are more, their children are a big part of their life. I mean, in the old days when you got your children growing up and you took care of them, but you didn't, they weren't your everything. As some people like helicopter parents and stuff, those kind of people that want to take over their child. And so I don't know, maybe that's made a difference. Does anybody know anybody that went through this? I don't know. I just felt it was not a bad thing. Rachel was a good part of my life, and I can smile thinking of her. So
How old was Rachel when she died?
42. And that good old Dr. Burko said she lived a lot longer than we thought. She just really, she was happy most of the time, and she was, well, anyway, that was.
She was well cared for, so.
Yeah, and she was loved. You took her home and loved her.
Well, yeah, that's what you do. So anyway.
Well, I think the other thing that what Fred found is true also today, that a lot of times that kind of stress on a family.
Yeah, and there were
breaks up the
divorces
family.
too.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
divorces. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mommy, I did know a family that had a lot of trouble accepting that. My husband's secretary or assistant had the perfect family. It was the beautiful Italian family, and that's the way they talked about it. I can't imagine talking about my family.
Yeah.
But theirs was. Anyway, one of the daughters had a developmentally delayed child, and they were horrified. They were going to put her somewhere. They didn't know what to do. I mean, the family just flew into a frenzy. But this little child, like your Rachel, just was the most lovable child ever. And pretty soon she wormed her way into everybody's hearts. And then when one of the other daughters got married, they said, well, she has to be in the wedding. She was like 18 months old. And so they carried her down the aisle and she dropped her pill. I mean, it was a 360-degree change. I've never seen a family grow and change and love. And I mean, it was amazing. That
I
child
like to
was a
think that's
miracle.
more possible
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, she really was the teacher, you know,
Right.
to that family, and everybody adored her. Just did.
Well, that's, that's what you're supposed to do. It's, well, I guess not all husbands and wives love each other either. I guess there's always, the world is a different place today, but I think that there's some more people awareness of people who are not strong, who are not well, who have gotten mental problems even. And I never thought about Rachel having mental problems, but whatever that it contributes to their life or makes it difficult for their life. So anyway, that's my story.
This story is a blessing to me. Your story, you could have picked other things to talk about, but this story is a blessing to me because it's a parable. It's a parable of grace. You lived with grace. You accepted the grace that was given to you. I don't know how you lived your life from 0 to whenever you got married and had this child. I don't know that, but it's clear to me that you just have grace.
Thank you.
More than I do, I'll tell you.
Don't be silly.
I couldn't have done that.
It's
No, I
Thank
could
you.
not have. And so it is a beautiful story to me because it's encouraging.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you to acknowledge that. Well, okay, I just, that when I think about 1965 was when she was born. Good grief.
Yeah,
It's a long time ago.
that's a long
She
time
died in
ago.
2009, so that was and no, Fred died in 2009. She died in 2007, and I'm telling you that did him in. He just he was never really good after that. He hated being old. He just was so unhappy. There's something, a missing part of his life. It was a bad time for everybody, but that was especially that, so anyway.
But he did come to church for that funeral and sang a little song from the pulpit,
He did, he
never
stood up there.
forget how It was a very special thing for a father to sing to his
Yes,
little
he
girl.
was. He was good. I always thought, I thought today is that if he had known our Becky died, that would have done him in for sure. Really, I think the Lord spared him. He was there for Rachel till the end, and then the Lord said, "Okay, it's enough. You can come now." So really, you guys, I don't know. It's just that's the way things affect you sometimes, and I think it's something you just get over or recover from or whatever. You can't get used to anything, and nothing is. Death is not something you get used to. You just accept it, and you look back. And I look back now at these pictures of Rachel. They make me smile. It doesn't make me sad to see them. And I think I feel that way about our daughter Becky too. That's I say hi to her too in my pictures and stuff. Those are the kind of things that everybody loses people. Everybody has a loss. So it's an uncomfortable, unhappy thing, but it's something that you just have to deal with. So.
And I bet you were a really good nurse.
I did. I loved it.
You passed all that on.
I cannot believe how I thought, okay, that's one thing I didn't tell you, is that when Rachel was born, I thought, well, and I really did say this to the Lord. I said, okay, help me to make the best of this. And he did. I know he sent me to nursing school.
I'm sure.
I absolutely believe that because I was never a science person, a nerd. Really? Who would do that? Well, and I got A's in nursing school. The kids would say, "Why is mom always studying?" He said, "She's getting A's. What's your excuse?" So I thought that was true.
Beautiful,
Enough already.
lovely.
Enough.
No,
Yeah,
we love,
just,
we
there's
love hearing from you.
There's a, I don't know, I mean, a theological piece here, and I think of Rachel about this. I mean, Rachel was a beautiful person. And so often, I mean, in churches, I mean, it's like, well, have you accepted the Lord as your personal savior? You know, all these conditions are put on people. I mean,
Yeah.
Rachel puts all of that to shame, because you know what? Rachel was clearly a beloved child of God. We all are, right?
Mhm.
She couldn't articulate a Nicene Creed or any belief in according to our standards and what we would want to be, you know.
Yeah.
She was just pure love. And that's how, and so I think she reveals what is true in all people.
Mhm.
And so, you know, the church in a lot of ways has to reform itself and not,
Yes.
you know, say, and put these things in front of people like, unless you do this, you're going to go to hell, or you're not
We heard a lot of
acceptable.
that at some point.
And I feel like she's such a clear sign of that. So I just wanted to say that because it's important.
But I was totally grateful for your participation in her life. That was so meaningful. And I expressed how surprised I was that you were coming. I thought, oh my gosh, the priest is coming to you hadn't been here more than I swear a week or so. And you said, let's go see Rachel. I thought, oh, okay. And you were so, I think you liked it because everybody loved you so much. Here comes a priest. Here comes a priest.
So different than coming to church.
Yeah.
I'll go there anytime. No, but
Anyway, that's one of the reasons I do think he's a saint. I have frequently called him a saint, and you know, he denies it, but I think he's pretty good to sainthood.
Well, I've always really admired you, Diane. I just,
Thank you. That's very flattering.
I think that you're so loving, and yet you're also very realistic about life and its challenges, and I think that's.
Thank you for that. I hope so. One never knows how you're going to take old age, but I'm telling you, when it comes on you, you think, oh, good grief. Is this what it is? Is this all it is? Oh. And of course, nobody knows you're going to live this long. I mean,
No.
you know, if my son, who is 61, how old does that make me? I mean, you know, let's face it.
You were a child bride.
Yes, I was a child bride. Well, by some standards, I guess I was, you know, probably 21, but you know, that was good grief so long ago. And those are pleasant. I hope that anyone can look back on their life and think it was okay. If we can get through our life and think, okay. And I'm grateful to have those feelings. I do. So.
Did you feel at any point with like Becky and Rachel that tried your faith or your belief?
No, it never, ever, ever. I just never did it. I always knew this was not God's fault, but because some people did say that, you know, well, the Lord gave you Rachel because you take good care of her. And there was one incident that I thought was unusual was at my son Eric's school. I guess it was a, you know, talking to the teacher routine. And somebody came up that said, you know, that Eric has a retarded sister, and it's because they would take good care of her. That's why they had her. I mean, it's like people don't they just do those things to people. That's God's way. But I never ever occurred to me that was God's fault or anything. Taking losing my daughters. Well, that's the way it was. And even the good part about when Becky died, she was ready to go. She really was quite accepting. So those are things that you can look back on and say, well, that was okay then. You know, just look for the best of whatever you can find. So enough of me.
Well, it's not enough of you.
No, no, we never can get enough of you.
You're right.
Diane, I think many people who've had experiences like you've had find times when they feel God has abandoned them, right?
Mhm.
Or, I mean,
Yes.
even worse, they feel God is punishing them,
Mm.
or, or it's a possibility that you just feel like you have to tune out God and just say like, that is just can't be a part of my life
Yeah.
anymore. And it sounds like that didn't,
Mhm.
that is not
I
your
just never
experience.
did. I did, and I'm grateful. I know, because I know people that have had problems with in their life that just had some illness or something, and they'd say, why did God do this to me? Or how many ladies over the years that have said, why did so and so die? Why did he leave me? It's like something was done to you, and it's just that isn't the way it goes. That isn't the way it
Do you
goes.
think your childhood, like, a lot of this is formed when you're a child. What was your experience
I was
of
an only
God?
child, and my mom was from second generation from Norway, and I just think they're
Wow.
just kind of accepting things. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
There you go.
think either of our mothers. Now, my mother-in-law was from Canada, that she and her family was so they old thoughts about things. They were really. They said, "Oh, okay." I mean, they didn't say okay, but I think they did accept her and always. As I say, my mother-in-law thought if you just feed her really well, she'll get better. My mother never thought that. But anyway, that was
And obviously you didn't feed her very well at all.
right.
Just bad food at the Dixons, right?
Yeah, that's the problem.
My mother-in-law put salt on baby food. She's feeding, oh God, she was a riot.
So when you were a young child, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 or, around that time, did you have any ideas? I thought, was God part of your reality at that point, or when did that happen?
I always, I think I told you, my parents didn't go to church either. And so between my husband and my family, anyway, but they dropped me off at friends' churches. So I went to a Lutheran church, I went to a Presbyterian church, and then my friend Ann, who was still my friend, said, come to Christ Church, Waukegan. And it was a beautiful church, and I thought, and I liked it because it felt like it was really church.
Mhm.
I mean, I really felt this was
Like
church because,
this.
well, I guess you got to kneel, and I had been in that wedding, the Catholic girl's wedding, and I thought, oh, this is the real thing. And I just, I don't know, and I've always felt that it's the best service, and I just, the more simple things, it's gotta be a good church service. I don't know, I think why we all like being Episcopalian, I don't know.
That's
Just-
part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So when your parents dropped you off, what did they tell you? Did you know why you were being dropped off to go
well,
to go to
because
church or?
I guess then they went home and picked me up, I don't know, but I always had a friend that went to that church, that's why I went.
I just like seeing them drive up in a Buick. Bye, Diane. She run into the Lutheran church and they just go home.
And then there was
Oh, let's try the
a
Methodist
there
church.
was a Buick too, there was a Buick.
I'm
So
sure.
why did they do this? Like,
If
if you
they
were,
didn't go, why did they?
I don't know, I
feel
think they thought I
compelled to-
should go to church. Or go to maybe Sunday school, whatever it
They
was.
didn't think that they should go to
No.
church. No.
But okay, then get my parents elderly, and they started coming, and not only that, but my father got confirmed when he was 60 something, I
Wow.
swear. And my mom, when my dad died, ended up being the priest's secretary.
Wow.
Isn't that something? Yes, it really was. It really was. So,
Now, when
see,
they
they're
dropped
in
you
the
off
right
at church,
place.
did they give you some money to put in the plate? And did you put it in the plate?
I
Oh,
don't even know that. Probably, I probably had an allowance, 25 cents a week or something. Whatever kind of allowance you got back in those days. Do people still give children allowances?
Yeah,
Do they?
yeah, mine was something like that.
Yeah, I was allowed to live in the house.
You still get that allowance from your wife,
Yeah.
right?
It's really it's such a part of a kid's life is and saving our money for Christmas presents and that,
Oh,
I remember the
yeah,
Christmas
right.
club where you got a quarter every week or
Uh-huh.
something. I
Yeah.
think you know, then they gave us maybe $25 at the end of this time. It was really, well, maybe things were cheaper then too.
Everything was. Well, you're totally delightful. When next time I'm depressed, I'm going to call you.
Okay, that's okay. I can do that.
You
I
make
can
me
do that.
laugh.
I can do that.
Yeah.
That's the good thing to do. I'm happy
Yeah.
to do that.
Okay,
I
the
don't,
date.
you know, I don't work anymore. I just, when I retired,
Okay.
I remember one guy said, who's gonna take care of me? I said, well, you know, there were others coming around here, you know.
I really appreciated when you visited me at Mary and Joy. I was so messed up. Your visit was meant a lot.
Well, visiting people is it's rewarding. It's more rewarding for you than it is for the person, I swear.
Yeah.
It's, but you know, Mary and Joy was a good place.
Well, you were a VIP as far as everybody else was. Diane Dibbs came to see you. Yeah, you know. I'm connected. It's true though. They really did think you were like a big deal over there.
You were in the in crowd.
Yeah.
But it just meant a lot to me that you came. I appreciate it a lot.
There comes a good Episcopalian who came,
Right,
who was a Catholic.
Late. No, I had all to do.
She recovered from being a Catholic. So there is a church service at 10:30.
We're canceling church because this was good enough.
Yeah, this was good. This was good.
But no, that at 10:30, yes, but we still have about, we still have a few minutes. Is there anybody on Zoom? Anybody on Zoom have a comment or a question for
Hi,
Diane?
Cardwell. Hi, Kim. Hi, everybody. Oh, hi, Laura.
Hi, Diane. Hi, Diane. I really just want to thank you. As I was listening to you, I wanted to be in the same room as my children. So I went upstairs and it could be a little loud in the background because of that. Both of my children have been such a gift to me and my husband. When our second daughter was diagnosed with autism, and I see so much intelligence and liveliness and wonder in her, but I just worry so much that I'm not always the mom that she needs. Your story was just so inspirational, and I might need to talk to you more often. That's all.
I'm amazed at how much more places that take care of kids like that help them to learn things that give them jobs, that give them a life that in the past, like my mother-in-law would say, well, people think you just shove her in the back room and forget about her, or go, get her institutionalized and don't think about having to worry about that one. Well, now they take care of so many problems that people are faced with that make it easier. Autism can be a joy. It can be a joy. I know people who have autistic kids that are really, it's just caring. It's caring and seeing what's available for them.
Thank you.
Well, I just love that we're doing this series. This is us, because I think it, people see each other in church and we don't know each other's stories. And it's so meaningful to be able to hear.
And sometimes you always like to know,
Yeah, and it's just
Diane,
we have so many wonderful people at our church.
There's only wonderful people here. And I've been here a long time, and I've seen those people, and they're all been wonderful. And that's the fun part about being in a church such a long time, that we always stayed in Glen Ellen for all those years. And you see these people, you see their kids grow up. I mean, and two of my kids were married here. So that's, it's it's really important in your life, or very nice. Not everyone gonna have that, I know, but I was grateful to have that.
Diane, I wanted to simply say that you're
Yeah,
my
when he's
picture
not
of
working.
grace.
I like him so much when he's working.
Ann, can you say that again?
I just wanted to tell Diane that she's my picture of what grace means. From the day I met her,
Well said.
been blessed to have her in my life. I think
Oh, sweet,
she has
and-
demonstrated what true grace means.
Yep.
Wow.
Good one.
It's something to appreciate. I don't know how to even react to that. Thank you so much.
Gracefully.
When
And I
people
just want to,
And people are nice to old people, I'm telling you. And my son said, just say thank you. Stop saying you don't need it. Just,
We
you know.
have to say goodbye to
Kim
our
wants to
Zoom,
say
our Zoom
something.
audience.
Bye,
Kim.
Kim.
Kim, did you want to say
Bye.
something?
Bye, Kim.
just the same thing that everyone else is saying. Thank you so much, Diane, for sharing that. You continue to be an inspiration to all of us. Thank you.
Thanks for that. That's very sweet. of
Goodbye,
you.
Zoom. We may see you at church.
Oh,